Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first episode of the Ambassador View podcast. I'm your host, Ambassador Zimmy, and with me today is our co-host, Pandy.
Hello, guys.
Today we have a pretty great show for you all. Hopefully we'll be able to hit on all of the topics. The first topic is the Mad Box console that was recently announced by Slightly Mad Studios CEO Ian Bell. After that, new patents approved for an Xbox controller and rumors regarding the new Xbox console. And Blizzard confirms a female Overwatch contender player is an imposter. So let's go ahead and hop into our very first story of the day. Slightly Mad Studios, the people behind Project Cars, are apparently developing a gaming console. This was first announced by the company's CEO, Ian Bell. He announced that the Mad Box console would come out in approximately 3 years. It was also announced that the console would work with most major VR headsets. The CEO also claimed that it would be the most powerful console ever built. Pandy, what's your take on this?
Well, I have seen it and it looks like a PC, and obviously the internals were blurred. But I don't know, it's saying release in 3 years' time and that it will be the most powerful console. But that seems a little ambitious to me. With the next gen consoles on the way, will it be able to keep up, and will it actually be the most powerful one in 3 years' time? Or will it just be the most powerful one today?
Yeah, and so whenever the CEO, I think, took to Twitter and started announcing all of these, all of like the console, he actually popped up multiple images of different designs. And so one was that vertical, almost PC-shaped console, and another one was a more like tilted up GameCube kind of design. So I think they have multiple designs for that. But I'm kind of with you. 3 years just seems like a very, very clunky date to even announce anything.
A 1 year announce date, I think, would be more reliable. We'd be able to look at the technology that is around us already and go, well, actually, comparatively, yes, this is a good looking prospect. This will stand up against Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo. But right now, you honestly can't say it's going to be the most powerful. You just don't know. There's just too many variables.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to jump the book on what we will be talking about today, but a lot of people are speculating that 2020 is going to be the year whenever we're going to see a new PlayStation, the PlayStation 5, and a new Xbox as well. And so 3 years from now, that's going to go ahead and put them behind the new generation of consoles already.
It is a risky move for them, I think. You've got the bigger companies that are already established and have a loyal fan base. The Mad Box may indeed at the time be the most powerful, but will many people even want to try it? You get people that are very loyal to their brands, or people that will happily play both. Are they going to want to try a new console? Are there going to even be many games available for it?
You know, that's another thing I was thinking about as well, because, you know, one major thing, and I don't want to talk about this too much because we're going to be talking about it later on in the show, of course. But one major deciding factor for people on whether they're going to buy a PlayStation, a Nintendo Switch, or a Xbox One, at least this generation, has been what games they can play on it. You know, is the exclusives, and will Slightly Mad Box Studios actually be able to come up with a good enough list of exclusives just for their console, or will they just have third-party games on it solely, just like the Xbox and the PlayStation do?
When they release it, we may actually see a game from them at the same time, but I think the library in the beginning is going to be quite limited. They just do not have years of established games or a back catalogue that they can fall back on that the other companies do.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Another thing that was announced in this article is that Slightly Mad Box is also creating a game engine that they are saying that they will give out to developers for free to make games for their system. So it kind of really seems like they don't even have an idea of what to do for exclusives. I think giving a free game engine to developers and hoping that they're going to make a game for their console, I just don't really see that being a very good alternative to, say, what Microsoft is doing with acquiring a ton of different companies to make Xbox exclusives solely for their console, or what PlayStation has with just already a huge backlog of studios that are already making exclusives for their console.
Well, are the studios going to want to take the risk with a new console. What if the console itself sells well? Then yes, any game that's attached to that might actually do well itself. But they could create the games and see the console fail, and they've just created these games that themselves won't sell. It's a lot for anybody to consider, I think, before they attach themselves to the Mad Box.
Another thing, too, is that in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of different companies. Valve tried it with their Steam machine, and then Soldier Boy, I think, tried it with his own personal console. So we've seen a lot of companies come into the gaming scene and try to create a console that ultimately fails. So my question is, what do you think Madbox is doing or could do to possibly make this system work? Or do you think it's just ultimately going to fail?
I think a lot of it will come down to who they can attract to them. If they can attract some of the biggest studios and have some amazing games on release that really will capture the gamer's interest, then yes, there's no reason it couldn't go well. If they have it at a competitive price and release it at the right time, such as before Christmas, it really comes down to timing and marketing and what they are actually able to deliver in 3 years' time, not what promises they are giving now.
Yeah. Well, another thing too, and I just thought about this, I mentioned it before with the time dates that a lot of people are thinking that the new consoles are going to come out in 2020. 3 years from now, it will be 2021. So literally 1 year after it's speculated that the new Xbox console and the new PlayStation 5 will come out. And so I'm kind of curious to see if people would even be willing to buy that as their second console, because I don't think people are going to necessarily wait and hold their money for an unknown, for a company that really not very many people know about, and for a console that probably a lot of people are unsure about. So I just don't really know if a lot of people are going to go out the year after they bought their brand new PlayStation 5 or their brand new Xbox 2 or whatever they call it, and actually spend, $500, $600 for this new console.
No, I agree with you there. I think when the new consoles are released, we will also see a lot of new games released as well, and people will be caught up in that. They're not going to want to take a risk with the new console when they can play the next Call of Duty or whatever RPG is around at that time. They're going to stay with what they know, I think, and unless there is something truly special or they have a genuine interest in the Mad Box, I don't think people will go for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of against it as well. I just don't really see how there's really even enough room in the market for a fourth major gaming console. I just don't really see it,
There could be if they deliver, but as you say, they are relatively unknown. Are they going to have the backing to complete the project at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Are they going to be able to carry it full term? If Xbox want to make a new console, they can. PlayStation, Nintendo, they have the financial backing to be able to create innovations, make these new consoles, create new generations. Are they going to be able to? Are they going to be able to keep up, even if they do release it? Will it just end up being a one-off console that ends up fading into obscurity because the company does not have the financial backing to maintain it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point as well, because, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never heard of Slightly Mad Studios before.
Me either, until I saw the article and I saw the console, the conception of what the console would be. I had never heard of them.
Yeah, and so, like, whenever I read up on them and I heard that they made Project Cars 2, or Project Cars, I instantly understood who they were, but I've also never played Project Cars either. How are they even getting this funding to create this gaming console? Are shareholders just throwing money at it? Do they, how exactly did they get this money? Because, with not a lot of people knowing who the studio is, just right off the top of their heads. And I don't even think, was Project Cars actually even released on the Xbox?
I honestly don't know. I have never played it. But in answer to, I guess, what you're saying, I think they are getting people hyped up with these buzzwords and like most powerful console and these images which are fantastic. All the different concept images look amazing.
Oh yeah.
They're
just
beautiful.
from the aesthetics, the console just looks absolutely gorgeous.
And I think that's how they're doing it. They are showing what they think they can create. Whether or not they actually can, I don't know. But that is how I think they are capturing the financial backing, is with promises of what this console could be. And they are pointing at other consoles and their success and saying, well, why can't we do that? We can create something on that level. But can they? That will be the question in 3 years' time. Will it even be released in 3 years' time? You know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's easy to just go onto Twitter and, announce to everyone, hey, we're building a console. But it's a completely different thing to get all of the logistics right, to get all of the developers to actually agree to make games for your console, even the third-party developers, and then it's even a bigger hurdle just to actually be able to establish yourself and make your own franchises. Like Mario, is symbolic with Nintendo, how God of War is symbolic with PlayStation, how Halo is symbolic with Xbox. I think it's gonna be really, really hard for them to get a big AAA exclusive game for their company, as well as trying to achieve all of these other things.
Well, not even that. Let's get down to the basic practicalities of it. They're going to have to create something entirely new. If there is a new console on the market, any of the bigger console studios are going to be keeping an eye on what that company is creating, that they aren't using any of their patents. So not only do they have to think about how they're going to market it, whether they can get the games, how they can create something new that doesn't tread on any toes at all with any of the bigger studios. I think that they've set themselves a huge challenge that I just don't think they can do it. I don't. The more we talk about it, I mean, I was very on the fence when I first read about it. I was like, well, actually, maybe. But the more we discuss it and the more we get into it, I actually think in 3 years' time, we may not see exactly what they're saying now. And even if it does get released, it may even be in limited numbers. They just aren't going to be able to create what Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo can. They just cannot do it, I don't think.
I mean, it's just going to be really, really hard for them to just come in as a new kid on the block and really be able to challenge Xbox and to challenge PlayStation and to, challenge Nintendo, challenge all of these console developers who have been in the game for decades. I think it's going to be really, really hard. And I'm definitely very excited to hear more news about this console. I'm not going to buy it, of course. I mean, I like Xbox. Xbox treats me good. But
Xbox treats us all good.
Xbox treats us all good. But I am very, very excited to see what they do, and I love to see competition regardless, because if Madbox does actually become a thing, and if they're in any way able to rival these other superpowers, then that's only going to make Xbox change more, PlayStation change more. Nintendo's probably not going to change because that's just who they are. But it's going to add competition, which is only going to make our gaming experience better.
I agree with you. Competition is healthy. It will force the others to innovate. We will see some amazing new things, but they have to be able to deliver.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that's pretty much it for this news story. Definitely let us know down in the comment section below what you guys think of this Madbox console. If you agree with us, or if you think that it's going to be a major superpower in the upcoming years. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. 2 patents that Microsoft filed for in June of 2017 were both granted last month. Both of these patents are for mechanics of the actual triggers that are on the controller. Some are speculating that we will see changes on Xbox controllers this generation, but it's my personal opinion that I think we will actually see new controller features in the next generation. There's also been some talk about the next-gen console floating around on YouTube and news sites alike. Pandy, what is your take on these new patents, and what do you think about the next generation of consoles?
Well, for starters, I agree with you on the fact that I think we won't see these patents on current controllers. If they're going to release a new console, it seems like too much effort to release, to update the old controllers that are already on the market. They might as well save it, release it with a new controller, with a new console, and just do it all in one go. It's far more efficient, and it can actually also be a selling point to the new console itself. These new controllers will give you more responsiveness when you play, and for gamers like me who are terrible at PUBG, that's an amazing thing. I would like quicker responsiveness in my controller so that hopefully I can actually kill something and not fail all the time.
Yeah, so as it is for the controllers, I wouldn't be 110% shocked if Xbox did change the Xbox One controllers like late in the game. But I just don't really think it's going to happen. I don't think that they're going to spend the time, the money, and the effort. With next year being the year that so many people are thinking that the new Xbox console is going to come out, I think that they filed the patents early. I think that they got it approved early so that they could go ahead and continue working on the controller. So, why would they spend the time, the money, and the effort all on the old generation, whatever they're already working on the next gen consoles right now?
They wouldn't. They've got to keep up with the market. So I haven't personally researched it before. They know PlayStation could also have patents pending for new controllers, things like that. They're constantly having to innovate, constantly having to keep up. So it just makes sense that with the next generation comes the next generation of consoles, one that does improve the gamer's experience, one that does allow us to be quicker with what we are doing.
And I mean, this technology for the controllers is kind of exciting. It really is. I mean, if you're a really big, tech geek, I'm sure you're just drooling over all the details of what these new triggers are going to be able to do and all this different stuff. But really what I want to talk about, at least right now, is the new generation of consoles. The PlayStation 5 and the Xbox, I'm just going to say Xbox 2. I don't know. Their naming is all over the place. Xbox
Anaconda.
360, One. I mean, they're just all over the place, right?
Let's call it Anaconda. Let's give it its code name. Name Anaconda.
I think that it's actually, the code name is Scarlet, if I'm not mistaken. I made a YouTube video about it not too long ago, and I think the code name is Scarlet. Yeah, so they're calling it the Xbox Scarlet. Yeah.
Okay.
How the Xbox One X was codenamed Scorpio, it's called Scarlet, I think. But what are your thoughts on the new generation of consoles, though?
Well, I personally am very excited about the next gen consoles. I don't think we're going to see them for a little while, maybe 2020, possibly nearer summer, sort of Christmas time, the end of the year. They can release bundles with new games. That seems to be the best time to sell games. So they don't necessarily have to release the next one so quickly. They can just kind of keep adding little bits to the X and S's until eventually they do release the next one. Because let's not forget, the consoles that are on the market now are amazing already. Each company is constantly improving them. So whilst there are new consoles, these ones are still relatively new. They're still constantly being innovated, so they don't have to rush it.
Well, and I'll tell you one thing I've thought about a lot is, the Xbox 360. It just seems, maybe it was because I was younger whenever the console came out and time was moving slower whenever I was younger, but it just seems like they got so much more out of the 360 technology wise. I remember seeing games whenever the 360 first came out, and then I remember seeing games all the way at the end of that console's life cycle, and there was such a dramatic change, right? And with the Xbox One, there's not really that same dramatic change. I think, which, I don't make games, I don't develop games, I know very little about hardware or, the specs required to play certain games. But I would just still imagine that there is a lot that they could squeeze out of the Xbox One. So I think it's kind of early for them to already be talking about a new console, but at the same time, I'm still excited about it. Excited about all the new features and all the little toys and gizmos that these new consoles will have.
I think maybe what we want to do, the technology isn't quite keeping up with it. Such as we have VR, but it isn't as amazing as it could be. But all of these things are constantly being tweaked. They're constantly being made better. So whilst it may not seem like there is a huge leap, the changes that are being made are the important changes in terms of quality, frame rate, reducing lag, enabling crossplay, just what we can do as gamers. So whilst we may think there isn't a huge leap, actually they are making great strides, just in a tiny way that we may not even notice.
That is true. And another thing though too that I actually kind of thought about this while you were speaking is, technology nowadays is changing and moving so much quicker than what it did prior years, And so that might be another reason why we're seeing a new console so much sooner than what I remember it being on the Xbox 360.
We're tied up in nostalgia as well. We remember our old consoles, and I remember having to wait a long time until I was allowed to buy a new console. Yeah. And when I was younger, the internet wasn't as prevalent, so we didn't necessarily know so much about the new consoles. It was more word of mouth or adverts on TV if we saw them. And so to me, it doesn't necessarily seem that quick. Maybe it's more that they seem more expensive than anything, but that's a side issue. It doesn't seem that quick to me. I'm just more amazed at how much technology has changed. I first started gaming in the early 90s, and I will always have a love for the games that were around then, Legend of Zelda, things like that, and their look. But modern consoles just blow my mind, and with what they can do and how they look. And so I just can't help but be excited for what future consoles are going to be like. I mean, what are my children going to play? What is their VR experience going to be like?
Oh yeah.
I say give us more new consoles, but don't rush it. I'm happy to wait till 2020. If you give me something good, I will wait.
I think some of the biggest changes that we're going to see with the next generation of consoles is going to be higher frame rates. It's going to be, 4K is going to be the brand new standard. 1080p, I'm sure it will still support 1080p, but 4K is definitely going to be the new standard. And then possibly we might see a later update for 8K. I don't know. But what are some of the things that you're excited for, or that you actually want to see in a brand new console?
I don't know what I'm excited about. Just improved graphics. Okay. Honestly, if I could wish for any feature, I think it's what a lot of gamers wish for, and it's not going to be exclusive for Xbox, and that is definitely the ability to crossplay. That is what I want to see the next gen consoles do.
I don't think it's going to happen, Pandy.
I don't think it. I don't think it is either. But I can be a dreamer, Zimi. I can dream.
I think Xbox is open to it, but I just don't think PlayStation is quite there yet.
They need to go on a date. Just sit down, have a nice dinner.
They should.
And then they'll see.
Yeah, Phil Spencer and like the other guy. They need to go. They need like some candlelight, some nice pasta, like maybe a Lady in the Tramp scene. Who knows? But one thing that I want to be this is the most minor thing ever, but I want to see it, right? I want to see Xbox come out with a controller that you don't have to put Duracells in. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see a controller that already has like a rechargeable battery pack. Like, I don't even think that like PlayStation, right? You can't even open up the back to get the battery out. I don't think.
No, you are right there. My PlayStation controller, I charge it with a cable. I actually cannot open the back at all. It's just completely solid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what shady deal Xbox has with like Duracell and Energizer, but like they need to stop that, and they need to make a controller that just has an internal battery that you plug up, it charges, you unplug it, you play with it or whatever, right? I'm tired of seeing these controllers that you have to go and get your own rechargeable battery set or whatever. I'm pretty tired of that. So that would probably be like the biggest thing that I want to see. Pandy, do you have anything to add before we move on to the next story?
No, I think we covered everything.
All right, guys. So the last story is going to be about Blizzard confirming a female Overwatch contender player is an imposter. Now, this story has a lot of twists and turns, so I'm actually going to let Pandy describe what happened because I'm just going to confuse myself in the middle of it.
Okay, so on the 21st of December 2018, an Overwatch contenders team called Second Wind added a player to their roster called Ellie. She appeared to come out of nowhere. Nobody really seemed to know who she was, and details on the sites about her were actually kept very vague. Like a lot of the other players have their real names and some details about them. She didn't, which caused a lot of the community to start questioning whether or not she was real. So it kind of split the Overwatch community. There were some that were seeing it as a sign of toxicity towards a female player. Others were seeing it as, okay, this isn't a real person, we should dox her. And it really brought up a real nasty side of this community. So eventually Ellie left, posting a single tweet saying sorry. And again, you know, there were mixed reactions. Some saw this as further proof she was an imposter. Others thought a female gamer had been driven away. And more details emerged that actually she might be an imposter. A tweet from someone called Becca Rukavina suggested that a gamer called Punisher was actually posing as her, and that this whole thing was a social experiment gone wrong. It has been suggested on streams that Punisher himself has stated that he asked a 17-year-old girl to pose as himself whilst he carried out this experiment. And now Blizzard are in discussions with Second Wind. Second Wind themselves have said they should have vetted her more, should have made sure she was verified, but they wanted to respect her privacy, but that they should have set a better example as the first team to add a female to their roster. Blizzard themselves are saying they don't support accounts being used in this way. And no matter how you look at it, it's pretty scandalous, and has actually brought a lot of publicity to Second Wind and Overwatch itself. I don't think all of it is positive publicity, though. Anyway, what do you think, Zimi? It's quite juicy, isn't it? I know, it's like a soap opera, an Overwatch soap opera.
To be honest with you, Pandy, I don't really know how I feel about it. The one thing that just kind of that rubs me the wrong way is the whole social experiment part.
Yeah.
Who decided to call it a social experiment?
It's such a bad phrase to use. I mean, what exactly were you experimenting? Were you trying to see how gamers would react to a female being added to the roster? Because you really didn't need an experiment to tell you that.
Well, we've already seen that. Like in Call of Duty, I think Gears of War, there's a ton of esports that have, female players on them. Back in the day, whenever I used to play, a little bit of, I was never a competitive player, but back in the day, whenever I used to play on a site called NX Gamers, I would do like tournaments and stuff like that. And I would play in, clan to clan matches. There were plenty of teams filled with just all female players, so I don't really understand the whole social experiment thing. Like, how would people react to a female player on an Overwatch team? I would imagine that they would react the same exact way whenever a female player started playing Call of Duty, professionally, or Gears of War professionally. So I just don't really understand the whole social experiment statement. And I don't know. It's confusing, and it almost seems like a comp out for something.
I agree with you. I don't understand it at all, and it's actually quite damaging. Yes, you illustrated that people were toxic, but what's going to happen the next time a female gamer is going to try and join a roster for any esports team? She's going to have to prove she is legitimate, that she is not an imposter. Mm-hmm. And that's going to actually scare a lot of female gamers away. They're just not going to want that spotlight on them. It's created just another level of pressure, I think, for a lot of females who may consider doing this. Are they going to reveal so much about themselves that people actually go, yes, she is a female gamer, when instead they should just be judged on whether or not they are the best person for the team, whether or not they can do the role that the team requires them to do.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that really kind of shocked me is that this was really the first female, it was going to be the very first female Overwatch professional player. You know, that just really shocks me. You know what I mean? In like 2018, where we see all these other games that are out with female, you know, competitive players on, and there's not any female Overwatch players yet. Like that really shocks me, number one. But another question that I kind of wanted to ask is, do you think that the events would have happened in the same way if it was a male player instead of a female player? Do you think like the same threatening to dox and leak personal information, do you think that would happen? Or do you think nothing would have happened because nobody would have been reporting on it because it wouldn't have been anything special?
I think the fact that it was going to be the first female pro esports player kind of is what drove up the hype. This whole thing kind of illustrates why there might not be females doing that. That might just be the answer as to why we're not seeing so many. They just maybe just don't feel welcomed. But no, I think if a man had just joined the roster, it wouldn't have been as much. But then you can never tell. Online gaming, if they had just released gamer tags, you can never tell who was attached to that, male or female. Maybe instead of showing so much and making such a point of their photos and their personal information, they should try and keep it more general. Not say this is a male female gamer, say this is Ambassador Zemi or this is Pandy. You know, just try and keep it more generalized and only release pictures of them if they have to, or like when they win awards, or maybe occasionally on Twitter, but just try and keep their actual sexual identity out of it.
Yeah, and I think that Second Wind probably definitely, you know, try to get as much publicity as they could for being the very first Overwatch team to sign a female player.
They messed up big time, though. They didn't verify, they didn't vet this player, they didn't make sure she or he was who they said they were, and they have set a terrible example. This could have been an amazing thing. It could have shown other women that they could do this as well, and could have encouraged others to do it. Now I think it'll cause more to kind of go, well, actually, do I want this level of scrutiny thrown my way?
And another thing, though, too, is that you said earlier, but I didn't really touch on it very much. I didn't really, say anything. But as sitting here thinking, it's really, really hard, for a female gamer, to be able to play games without being harassed, without, just random guys coming out and just saying, oh, you're pretty, and just sexually harassing women on Xbox, I think that's a huge issue. Personally myself, I think that that's a huge issue. I've seen it done multiple times. And so just with that, just with that also included into here, it would be extremely hard to see for these female gamers that want to pursue, and play professionally. That's a huge undertaking by itself. And this story definitely does not help that. Now, do I think that we're going to see a huge decline in female gamers pursuing to or wanting to, become professional gamers? I don't think so, because, it's just, we're not seeing a huge decline of female gamers playing Xbox in general. You know what I mean? Just because they get harassed, they just ignore it and try to move on and whatever. But what do you think?
I don't think we'll necessarily see a decline, but then we aren't seeing any female esports players really at the moment. So there can't really be a decline on what we don't have. I think more may reconsider it. Well, not necessarily reconsider it. Take a pause and have a think about how they can approach this in a way that keeps them safe, but doesn't necessarily cause a storm within whatever community they try and enter. But as you yourself said, it can be hard being a female gamer. You've seen some of the stuff I've sent. sometimes all it takes is opening your mouth on a mic. And
yeah,
unfortunately, until that is resolved, and the best way to resolve that as a female gamer is just to block and report them straight away. It really is. But until that is kind of cut out, you know, it's not going to be easy for any female esports player. I myself am lucky. I've got many people around me that I game with, male and female, but not every female gamer has that, and neither does every male, actually. You know, some male gamers get a lot of grief as well. So I think harassment in general needs to...
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But the only reason why I brought up the female, you know, aspect of it is because of the story and everything. But, you know, harassment in general on Xbox is a huge thing, you know, and you know, Xbox does everything that they can, and not just Xbox, you know, PC, PlayStation, you know, harassment just in gaming in general is a huge thing, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, you know, regardless of anything, you know. And these companies, they try to stop it as much as they can, but I don't know what it is with gamers as a community, and why some of us just feel it necessary to, you know, basically attack, you know, people, just random people, for just the most minor things. But anyway, guys, this story, I don't really have anything else to add. Pandy, do you have anything else to add to this story?
No, it's just, I'm sure more will come out. I don't feel like this is quite the end of it, but
you think that we're going to get an update on this story?
Maybe. I think maybe we'll get more. We'll see what Blizzard will do in regards to making sure this doesn't happen again, because whilst they've released a statement, we haven't seen if they're going to make any changes or force their contenders to perform stricter vetting. We haven't seen what the aftermath of it is. We can speculate what they might do, but I think Blizzard will have to do something, because there has been so much publicity around this. But I think it's so dramatic, the first gaming scandal of 2019, and
well, didn't this actually happen in December?
I think it was probably quite the end. I heard it myself the beginning of 2019, like the very that's whenever I heard of it as well. So I would have guessed some of what happened in this happened late December, I would guess then. The Twitter bandwagon rolled my way, and I saw it.
That's where I seen it as well. You probably retweeted it, actually, and that's how I seen it. But anyway, guys, that's going to be pretty much it for this story. Let us know down in the comment section below what you guys think about this story. What do you guys think about female gamers entering into esports? Do you think that we're going to see an increase? Do you think we're going to see a decrease? What do you guys even think about harassment of individuals on Xbox, PlayStation, or whatever console it might be? Anyway, let us know down in the comment section below. That's all that we have for this episode. Make sure to check back next week for a brand new episode filled with gaming news. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Peace out, guys.
Until next time, see you guys.